Hey everyone, my video is this is a post-game video about the game between the 49ers at the Redskins, and wearing my Jeff Garcia jersey. um, but uh, you know, the game turned out a lot like I thought it was going to turn out. I had said in my last video, my preview video, I said that you know, I don't think it's going to be a high scoring game. There were some people saying that the Niners were going to just go in there and blow out the Redskins 40-3, 40 something to 3 or whatever. I never really thought it was going to be like that. I've watched the game for so long. I played a little in high school, and I can tell you that when you have a field like that and you have weather conditions like that, and I mean that field was just soaked and muddy. You're not going to get the high scoring game you're hoping for, you know, or them scoring a lot of points. I heard some people thought it was going to be 40 something to 3, that the 49ers were going to win, and some people thought that Jimmy Garoppolo was going to have a big day against a weak Redskin defense. But I felt that the weather was going to limit those things. And normally coaches, when the weather's that wet and that bad, usually coaches prefer to run the ball more than pass it, and that's what they did. So I was not really all that shocked to see the game as tight as it was. The thing that really was frustrating me at first when I first put the game on, I noticed that I saw, the Redskins had the ball, at first, and they were just moving the ball at will. And in fact, on their first drive, they didn't even pass the ball. It was just running play after running play after running play after running play, which makes sense because of the weather conditions. Plus, they were trying to wear down our defense. But our defense stood tall. When the Redskins got deep into our territory, our defense stiffened, and Redskins missed the field goal, and so our defense started to stiffen up and play better football. Um, you know, I know a lot of people, giving Jimmy Garoppolo a bad time. I didn't think he was going to have a big 300-yard day like some people were predicting, but I just knew it was going to be like that because of the weather conditions. It was going to be kind of and then you had receivers that were falling down. The running backs couldn't keep their footing. They were so it was kind of hard to so the offense was kind of out of sync because of the conditions. Um, but I think that they did the best they could to win, and they did. They won the game, but I had a feeling that it was going to be like this. It was going to be that kind of a game, um, and it was just a defensive battle all day in that wet weather. Now I know I've heard people say, criticizing Jimmy Garoppolo. Because during the game I'm looking at what's being said on Twitter, what's being said on Facebook and Rombo Sports on his and all that, and I see what the comments are and stuff what people are saying during the game, and I hear people say negative things about Jimmy Garoppolo, saying put in Nick Mullins, Jimmy Garoppolo, he's struggling. Look, Jimmy Garoppolo was playing in on a field that was very, very soaking wet. This field was probably the worst condition out of all the fields around the National Football League today. This field, in Washington D.C., was in the worst condition of any of the fields. It rained in Seattle, but the stadium in Washington D.C. was much worse, and the players had a hard time keeping their footing and stuff, and it was probably a good experience for Jimmy Garoppolo too. The weather was because there may come a time down the stretch where we're gonna have to play if we make the playoffs, and there's a good chance we are because we're off to a really good start. We may have to play in conditions like that. Keep in mind if we have a home game chances are we probably will play in the rain because if history tells me correctly, I know that playoff games in San Francisco, the San Francisco Bay Area, have always been a lot of rainy games in the San Francisco Bay Area in the past. And the 49ers may have to face that in the playoffs because it does rain in the Bay Area quite a bit around that time of the year. So they may have to be. So I think this experience was kind of a good learning experience for them to play in those kind of elements. Um, and it was good for Jimmy Garoppolo because I don't think Jimmy Garoppolo has ever played in conditions like that in the NFL. He may have maybe played in that in college, but I don't know about in the NFL if he's ever played in those kind of conditions. But it's a good experience for him. It's a good experience for the whole team, and the team finds a way to win no matter how tough the situation is. It was just like like the Steelers game. The 49ers turned the ball over 5 times, but they managed to find a way to win. In this game, the offense was out of sync because of the weather conditions, and plus, I'm pretty sure that the Redskins were playing the best defense they possibly could, along with the weather conditions, kind of you know uh, pushing the 49er offense a little out of sync. But and it's probably due to a lot of other things too. We're still without our 2 tackles. Kyle Juszczyk isn't in there blocking for Matt Breida. So our offense is going to be a little bit like that, especially in those kind of elements. But the big news is we got the W. We're 6-0 now. This is the best start, I guess, since 1990, maybe 1984. I think this is we're going to make the playoffs. I mean, it would take an entirely huge meltdown for us not to get to the playoffs. I mean, we would have to lose every game from here on out. And and the players know this. The players understand that, and I think they're going to play their best. They're going to play their best and do what they can. And but I'm just so happy that we got the win. I was kind of frustrated, because of the weather conditions. It's slowing things down. It just kind of frustrated me, and it really frustrated me too in the beginning of that game, the way the Redskins were running the ball down our throat. I really I didn't like that at all. I mean, so I hope there's no weak link in our defense. It could be the running game, maybe our secondary a little bit, but I'm just hoping that that they get these things tuned up, and down the stretch. But the good news is, as we get closer to the later games, down the schedule, we're gonna get guys back. We're gonna get some of our players back, and that's good news for us because we need to get those guys back. Because it's really going to help us win. Another good news is that for us 49er fans, the Seattle Seahawks lost. And that's good news because that now gives us a little bit of a cushion in the division over them. I was kind of concerned about this race being so tight that one loss could, totally switch things. They take the lead. So it's kind of nice to have a little bit of a cushion, and I guess so that's good. But we got to keep winning. The Seahawks aren't going anywhere. They're gonna try to get wins. As long as they believe they have a chance. But I think the game next week against Carolina, that's gonna be a tough test. I really believe that game is going to probably be a really tough test for us. It's probably because they're one of the best. I'd say they're one of the better teams right now in the NFL. Believe they have a winning record. And so we'll see how it goes. But I'll do a video on that, and we'll talk about that. it doesn't look like in this game against the Redskins. I don't think there was any really major injuries. I think that there may have been a you know hit to Marquise Goodwin's head. I think he left the game because of a head hit, got his head hit or something. I think Matt Breida maybe got hit on the head. I'm not really sure. I know that Goodwin left the game, and I think Breida left the game momentarily. And after that, it was all Coleman in doing the carrying. So, but I think that I think that we're pretty much good shape, health wise coming out of this game. But trying to stay healthy is important, because we need to get these guys back. We're going down the stretch now in the season. There's a lot of good teams coming up. There's the Packers. We got the Panthers, and the Seahawks, and the Saints, the Ravens. I mean, those are not going to be cakewalks. Those will be hard games, hard fought games. But I think that if we can try to stay healthy, and continue doing what we're doing, take it one game at a time, stay humble and focused, I think we can really ride it into the playoffs. I really do. But yeah, I this team's got to just stay focused. But I'm happy for the win. The rain was terrible, terrible rain conditions. But the team stood tall, got through it, and but yeah, it was an interesting game. I thought, because of the weather conditions. I did kind of have a feeling that it was going to be one of those low scoring games, and a game that because I was so paranoid. If you looked at my last video, I was talking about this. I was just so paranoid about playing those guys, because I didn't know if what was going to happen. Sometimes fluky things can happen on fields like that, in games like that, trap games. That was a trap game. I mean, that thing had trap game written all over it. I mean, the rain on the road, 10 a.m. game, having some offensive struggles. Yeah, it was definitely setting up to be a trap game, but we survived it. That's the good news. We survived it, and that just goes to show you the resilience of this team. They no matter what the situation, they find a way to win, and it's just a good feeling to be 6-0 right now. It really is. It's been a long time since we've had a season like this. The good news, though, is we don't have Trent Baalke around anymore to muck all this up. What we got right now is good, and we need to stay where we are right now. We don't have Trent Baalke around anymore to step in there and muck everything up. He probably would if he was still around. But if he was still around, we probably wouldn't have a 6-0 record. Would probably have an 0. Would have an 0-6. But if he was still part of the organization, I'm sure he'd try to foul things up like he always does. Glad he's not part of the organization. Jed York did a good job in making sure that Trent Baalke was not part of this rebuild, because we would have gone nowhere with him. And I think John Lynch has done a fantastic job. I think Kyle Shanahan is becoming the coach we envisioned that he would be. He's actually got these guys because I look at these films, like when they're in the locker room and Kyle Shanahan is giving a speech. You see these guys looking at Kyle Shanahan like he is the leader of this team. They are buying into what he is selling them, and as long as that continues, this team is going to keep playing well, and I'm just happy about where we are right now. And we just got to keep it going. We just got to keep it going. I know that people are going to say things like, well, you guys struggled against the lowly Redskins, but you know what though? You got to look at the weather conditions. Weather conditions were bad, and I'm pretty sure the Redskins were trying hard, like hell, to beat us, because they hear all the negativity about them. So that's why they really gave us a fight, I think, in this game. But we just got to stay the course, we just got to stay the course and continue to play well and continue to win. That's important right now. That's really important because it's such a good feeling. I mean, do you remember last year at this time? Last year at this time, we were out of it. I mean, we were talking about the draft. We were talking about finishing strong. We have a bad season, but we were talking about finishing strong. We're not talking that way this year. This year we're talking about playoffs. We're talking about Super Bowl. Now, I must warn you, I think it's still a little too early to talk Super Bowl because I don't, I don't feel like we've played a complete game yet. I don't feel like we've played a game to our true potential, that we can be. When we reach that peak, then you can maybe start talking Super Bowl. But we still have growing. We're still going through some growing pains. There's still a lot of football left in the season. We're at just about the halfway mark right now, and there's still more ball to be played. And you just got to keep plugging away at it. Um, we'll see where you just got to keep plugging away at it and better yourself and then when we get to that point where we get down there towards the end of the season and we're playing really good football and we're beating good teams, then we can start talking about things like Super Bowl. I don't think it's ridiculous or out of the you know I don't think it's ridiculous to talk about playoffs right now. Certainly, it is looking realistically like that's possible now that we're 6-0. Because if you look at if you look at our record right now, we're 6-0. All we need is four more wins, and we'll have a double-digit winning season. We'll have double-digit wins, and usually double-digit wins will get you into the playoffs. Like winning 11 games, 10 games, 12 games, whatever. Usually, when you get to that point, you're going to clinch a playoff spot. So, when there's still a lot of games that are remaining. So, yeah, I kind of almost feel that it's realistic now, especially now that we are a little bit ahead of the Rams now and a little bit ahead of the Seahawks now because they lost. So I think we're about a game and a half ahead of them, or something like that. So, we'll just see what happens. There's a lot of football to be played. But anyways, it's a good team win for us. Good for our team. Um, you know, things are looking up. Things are heading in the right direction. So that's all I want to say. Next week we'll talk about those Panthers. I think that's going to be an even tougher game. I'm glad we're playing it at home. It's a 1 o'clock game. The weather should be better. And the 49ers have an opportunity here to really show people who they are. So, everybody, until next weekend, until then, I'll talk to you later. All right, everybody, have a good week.